Just wasn't there.
No. Good morning.
Good morning. Suspicious Minds, however, still just a great song.
It is a good song.
So we should watch Frequency again.
We should.
It is Saturday, January the 8th, 2022.
Warming back up for a day or two.
Yep. And very significant and important birthday today.
Yes.
My grandfather Rose.
Yes. I actually did know that, by
So.
the way.
Also Elvis, but do we really care? No.
No, because he's not the reason you're alive. So
We assume that, but I don't know exactly what dating habits my parents had that actually got them together. Maybe Elvis songs were involved.
Oh, that's possible. I don't know. Your mom doesn't talk a whole lot about Elvis.
True. I don't know. Just remember, the king isn't dead, he's just gone home. As the great Raymond Stevens once sang in a song, I saw Elvis in a UFO. Sitting there with Howard Hughes.
And then an iconic actor backed that up.
That's right. Tommy Lee Jones says it.
Tommy Lee Jones says it, so it's right. It's got to be right.
All right, let's get started. Meet me, O Christ, in this stillness of morning. Move me, O Spirit, to quiet my heart. Mend me, O Father, from yesterday's harms. From the discords of yesterday, resurrect my peace. From the discouragements of yesterday, resurrect my hope. From the weariness of yesterday, resurrect my strength. From the doubts of yesterday, resurrect my faith. From the wounds of yesterday, resurrect my love. Let me enter this new day aware of my need and awake to your grace, O Lord. Amen.
Amen.
So, January the 8th. 8 days into the new year.
Yep.
So, that gives us a couple of things to talk about. First of all, how are we doing on our New Year's changes, goals, habits that we wanted to have? How did the first week go?
First week had a lot of ups and downs and trying to feel way through and not having a whole lot of motivation, but I think coming to the end of it, I think I feel better about the things that I'm trying to do than I did at the beginning of it. So,
Okay.
Despite all the, it really hasn't been the smoothest of weeks, but I think that I feel like maybe I'm on a decent track. How about you?
Okay. Well, basically, no day this week went as planned or as intended for me.
Yeah. Here too. Me too. That's
And so I am working to recover from that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's really what we need to kind of hit on for a moment, and that is it doesn't always go like you planned. So spend a little time in analysis. Well, why didn't it? Well, there were factors outside of my definite control. We're making some changes with church administration, and as we do that, there are some things that are they're outside of. Didn't know we needed this, or didn't know we needed that, or we were waiting for one party to do X so that we could do this, and it all just needed, it eventually, when it needed to be done, it needed to be done. It didn't need to wait until, oh no, I've scheduled dealing with such interruptions on Thursdays at 2 p.m. It couldn't wait until Thursdays at 2 p.m. It had to be done so that they could do what they're supposed to do, which is on Thursdays at 2 p.m. punch send on paychecks, that kind of thing. So, there were some factors not totally in view, and I think that one value coming off of this first week is now we have, not so much met the enemy, but we have met the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it? What is it? Plans are useless?
no.
Isn't that the term? Plans are useless? Isn't that the whole saying?
No.
No, that's not the whole saying.
That's not the whole saying.
What's the whole saying?
I don't remember the exact wording, but there is more to it. There's something about planning being critical or something. I don't remember exactly how it goes.
Planning is essential.
Planning
Plans
is
are
essential.
useless. Planning is essential.
Yes. And that's really because if you have not done any planning, then when you get to the point of challenge, you're having to start from scratch and try to figure it out. If you've done planning, then when you get to the point of challenge, you're changing a plan. You're not trying to invent it from the beginning, from the ground up. And there's a lot to that because it's much easier to change a plan than to figure it out on the fly. And that even goes for people who are not planners.
Yes.
I know it's hard to make. There are things that are hard for me to do. It is hard for me to menu plan. But life goes much better if we have a menu plan and I change it, which always happens. Every single time I make a menu plan, we only end up using about half of it. But
usually it's the half that involves bacon.
But the month goes much more smoothly, or the week goes much more smoothly if I do it week to week, if I have a plan to then disrupt. And that's coming from somebody who likes to plan. Menu planning just doesn't work for me, but it does work for me, and I need to do it. So, and I think, my plan will look organizationally different from somebody who's not naturally inclined to thinking in that direction and thinking through planning that way. But we both have plans, and we need to have plans. So anyway, there, I went off on that tangent.
That's okay. That tangent needed to be gone down. Yes, because sometimes it just doesn't work, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. So
well, the other thing is we're not alone in what we do. We work with other people.
Yes.
And working with other people requires us to have some measure of structure and organization because people have to fit into that. It's one thing if we're only responsible for ourselves and only responsible for what goes on in our lives, but that just doesn't happen.
That's a very rare thing because that's what people need to know. Hey, this is when you can expect X from me, type of things. So anyway, if your first week went great, that's wonderful. 51 more to go. You got
this.
You got this. If your first week went, hey, you have 51 more chances to get there. And look at incremental improvements, small blessings along the way. It's not just about well, I'm going to lift 400 pounds. Okay, can you lift 100 now? Yes, I can lift 100. Okay, lift 105 next week.
But I want to get to 400.
But I want to get to 400, and so I'm going to put 350 on there. It's a lot closer. Yes. And then you separate your shoulder, and you're in rehab for 6 months, and you're doing 100 7 months from now. Yep. Build incrementally. It really does work out. And the other thing is this: the things that you have, the bad habits, the bad situations that you've put yourself into, that you've gotten into incrementally, a lot of them are going to be very hard to get out of instantly. Yeah. I have gotten overweight across the span of many, many years. I am not going to be physically fit next week. Despite all the training montages I have ever seen on movies and TV shows where, hey, dude's fat and out of shape and we need him in shape and ready to do this. And so it takes 20 minutes. It just doesn't, it's not going to work that way.
Well, and there are a lot of advertisements, that pop up on television and social media about dropping the weight like that. But it's not healthy.
Last time I dropped a weight like that, I dropped it on my foot.
No, you dropped it with a parasite.
Yeah, I had a parasite. So parasites are fun. And the same is true. Hey, I'm $250,000 in debt. Okay, well, you still have to pay it's going to be hard. It's going to take time to dig out of that because you probably don't have $250,000 of spare disposable income where you can, I'm just going to tweak my budget a little bit and I'm going to get out of that $250,000. If you can do that, then you're probably a little bit dense for having gotten into it in the first place, and $250,000 worth of debt's not going to bother you. If your budget is like that. But if you are, living on, $40,000 a year and you've got $100,000 worth of debt, you're not getting out of it this year unless you radically change your income structure. That type of thing. If for 20 years your go-to habit to deal with stress has been to drink alcohol, and this is the year you've decided to sober up, or this is the year you've decided to quit smoking, or this is the year you've decided to do whatever, most of those things will take you some time to truly get that habit where it needs to be. So, anyway, give yourself grace, give yourself time, get back on the horse and get back to it. There's a lot of horse metaphors in life. This is not my first rodeo. Get back up on that horse.
Well, for so long,
don't beat a dead horse.
Horses were, very, very common and necessary to social structure.
I thought it was because of the wisdom of Will Sebastian that he shared with all of us.
Sebastian.
Always in our hearts. Too soon. Okay. Let's wrap this up because we've gone to Parks and Rec. That's the time at which we should say, nope.
Nope. What do we need to read today?
Why don't you go to the book of Exodus?
Exodus.
Chapter 1. Starting next week, we're going to be working on memorizing Psalm 19. We want you to do it with us. Hit 15 and out.
The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah, and the other Puah, when you assist the Hebrew women in childbirth, observe at the delivery. If it is a son, kill him. But if it is a daughter, she may live. But the midwives feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them. They let the boys live. Then the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and said to them, why have you done this and let the boys live? The midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for the Hebrew women are vigorous. They give birth before the midwives get to them. So God treated the midwives well, and the people multiplied and became very strong. And because the midwives feared God, he made households for them. Then Pharaoh commanded all his people, all sons that are born you must throw into the river, but all daughters you may let live.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I was about to interrupt you.
That's why I was wondering if you had something to say.
Nope.
Okay.
Carry on.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for the chance to take a breath and just relax for a little bit today. And thank you for the blessing of your presence. In your holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Bye-bye.
Alexa, turn off the ring light.